In the jagged, fog-shrouded wilderness of the Kenai Peninsula, there is a place where the maps of the world simply stop being reliable. On the southern coast of Alaska, tucked away in the deep waters of Port Chatham, lies the remains of a village called Portlock. Today, if you visit, you will find only rusted machinery, collapsed cannery equipment, and a silence so heavy it feels like a physical weight. But Portlock wasn't your typical small-town closure. It didn't slowly wither away due to a failing economy. No, Portlock was expelled. In the late 1940s, an entire population of seasoned hunters, loggers, and resilient Russian Aleut pioneers abandoned their homes, their school, and their lives almost overnight. They left behind their possessions and their history, fleeing on boats and through the brush as if they were being hunted, and they never came back. Officially, the government says they moved because of a new highway, but the elders of the nearby village of Nantinaq tell a different story. A story of a Nantinaq, a hairy, 8-foot-tall presence that emerged from the trees to reclaim its territory. A story of men found in a fateful state that no animal could explain, and a terror that proved, once and for all, that there are still places on this planet where humanity has no control at all. Today, we are opening the files on the Cursed Village. We are investigating the tragic end of Andrew Kamuk, the impossible footprints found in the Comanche Peak wilderness, and the terrifying reality of what actually drove an entire town to vanish into the shadows. To understand why the abandonment of Portlock is such an anomaly, we have to look at the promise it once held. Established in the early 20th century, Portlock was perfectly situated for a global resource, salmon. The bay was rich with fish, the mountains were filled with timber, and for decades the settlement thrived. A post office opened in 1921, marking its status as a permanent, recognized community. These weren't people who were easily scared. These were Aleut and Russian pioneers who lived off the land, surviving some of the harshest environments in North America. But as the population grew, the wilderness began to push back. The first recorded anomalies began as far back as 1905. Villagers reported that their camps were being bothered in the dead of night by a presence that felt entirely external to the local wildlife. Trees were found ripped out of the ground by their roots, not by the wind, but as if they had been manually uprooted and rammed upside down into the earth. For years, these were dismissed as woodsmen's tales. But by the 1920s, the sightings of a huge, hairy, half-man, half-beast became impossible to ignore. The locals called it the Nantinaq. In the Dena'ina language, this literally translates to "those who steal people." It wasn't a legend to them, it was a tactical reality. Witnesses described a figure over 8 feet tall, covered in dark, matted fur, stalking the edges of the forest. But unlike the peaceful Bigfoot myths often discussed in the Pacific Northwest, the Nantinaq of Portlock was described as an aggressive predator, one that viewed the humans of the cannery as a biological resource. For a long time, the mountain held its breath, and no physical proof of a threat was established. That changed in 1931. A local logger named Andrew Kamuk was working alone in the forest near a heavy crane. When he failed to return, a search party was organized. What they found would haunt the village for generations. Andrew's journey had come to a fateful end. He was discovered over 10 feet away from his equipment, having suffered a single, devastating blow to the head. But here is the part that the investigators couldn't reconcile. The blow had been inflicted by a piece of logging equipment that was far too heavy for any single human being to lift, let alone swing as a weapon. There was blood on the crane, yet the remains were found in an area that suggested he had been moved after the incident. This event traumatized the entire village. It was the first undeniable sign that something with immense physical power was stalking them. Soon after, a group of moose hunters stumbled upon a scene of major yikidim. They found 18-inch footprints in the matted grass, surrounded by destroyed tree branches and signs of a massive struggle. But the trail of the moose ended abruptly at those footprints. There were no drag marks, no blood trails leading away, just the deep, heavy tracks of a man-like animal departing toward the high, fog-shrouded mountains. As the years progressed, the horror became more frequent. Reports emerged of trappers and miners who went out on routine duties and simply ceased to exist. In the 1940s, a shul teacher in the area recalled that a number of cannery workers vanished while hunting sheep. Eerily, one fateful discovery was made in a local lagoon, remains that had been dismembered in a way that was entirely inconsistent with a bear or wolf attack. The mountain was no longer a place of work. It had become a graveyard. As the local population began recovering remains, a new layer of mystery was added to the terror of Portlock. It wasn't just the hairy man that the residents feared. Some villagers began to report a second presence, the spirit of a woman dressed in long black clothes. According to local accounts, this figure would emerge from the cliffs above the town. She had a white, expressionless face and would moan uncontrollably, her long dress dragging behind her in the dirt. Some believed she was a warning, a harbinger of the fateful events to come. Others thought she was the ghost of one of the many who had vanished in the high peaks. The fear reached such a fever pitch that the cannery management was forced to take drastic measures. They hired armed guards to patrol the streets of Portlock in rotation. A strict nightly curfew was enforced. Families were told that under no circumstances were they to venture into the forest, especially on foggy days. The forest, the elders said, now belonged to the Nantinaq. But even the armed guards couldn't stop the silent pattern. People continued to disappear from within the town limits. One resident witnessed a massive, hairy figure manually destroying the fish wheels used to process salmon, the very heart of the town's economy. It was as if the presence was systematically dismantling the village's ability to survive. By 1949, the psychological toll was too much. The residents realized that no amount of steel or gunpowder could protect them from an intelligence they didn't understand. The exodus began. The final death knell for Portlock rang in 1950 when the post office was officially shuttered. The abandonment wasn't a slow process, it was a frantic escape. Entire families left their homes standing, with dishes still on the tables and clothes in the closets. They located to the nearby villages of Nantinaq and Port Graham, seeking safety in numbers. If you look at the official historical records, the narrative is sterilized. It claims that the construction of the new Alaska Route 1 state highway made Portlock's port obsolete, and people simply moved closer to the road for better economic opportunities. It's the perfect, rational explanation for a modern world. But if economics was the only factor, why did they leave so much behind? Why are the descendants of those residents still afraid to set foot on the land today? And why, in our modern era, do independent expeditions to the site report strange electromagnetic frequencies, orbs, and a feeling of being watched that forces them to leave before nightfall? Some researchers suggest that Portlock is a vile vortex, a region of the Earth where magnetic anomalies interfere with human perception and navigation, similar to the electronic fog of the Bermuda Triangle. This could explain the disorientation of the hunters and the hallucinations of the woman in black. But it doesn't explain the 18-inch footprints. It doesn't explain the uprooted trees. The story of Portlock reminds us of the missing 411 patterns we see in our national parks, high-altitude locations, proximity to water, and remains found in impossible conditions. Whether it was a biological perpetrator or a spiritual expulsion, the result remains the same. The wilderness won. Portlock is no longer a village. It is a warning. It is a place that the world was never meant to fully reclaim. Portlock remains a jagged hole in the history of the North. It is a story of a resilient people who found the truth only to realize that the price of knowing
was too high to pay. It serves as a reminder that even in an age of satellites and thermal imaging, there are still corners of our planet where the old laws still apply, and where we are the ones being observed. If you want to help us declassify more of these hidden archives, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an entry. Your engagement helps the algorithm push these stories to others who are looking for the truth beneath the surface. What is your theory on the Portlock abandonments? Was it really just the highway, or did something far more ancient drive them out? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and tell us which forbidden zone or classified mystery you want us to declassify next. We are listening to every suggestion.
But the mysteries of the frozen north aren't the only ones managed by powerful interests. If you think the Nantinaq is unsettling, you need to see our investigation into Zone 12, the forbidden UFO files hidden by the state in the Amazon. We go deep into the heart of the jungle to uncover the records of a military operation that captured over 500 images of crafts that shouldn't exist, a case so undeniable that the lead officer's journey came to a tragic end just weeks after he finally broke his silence. You can watch that investigation right here. The archives are open. Stay curious. I'll see you in the next mystery.